Let me just say ahead of time at the start of this video, this is more of like a podcast. If you enjoy this, let me know in the comments down below that you like this kind of podcast style. I might try and do it once a month. Secondly, I do not have the Nikon ZR. So if that's a deal breaker for you on this video, this is more speculative. This is me talking about what I think about it and whether I'm going to pick it up or not. But if you are looking specifically for footage and people who have had hands-on experience, this video is not for you. This is just me going to ramble. Today we're going to be talking about the Nikon ZR. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting cameras of 2025 and one really to keep an eye on. I'm going to go ahead and put a pre-order in on it because I really do think it's just going to be perfect for what I'm looking for. So I got some notes in front of me. We're going to sit down, maybe take 5 minutes and just talk about 5 reasons why I think this is just going to be one of the best cameras of the year and something really to be looking out for. And first off, and probably most obviously, is the price. I think this camera would have been competitive at $3,500. I really do. Like, this camera is shockingly good for the price. I mean, you have to think about what it is comparable to. It's going to be compared to like the likes of a FX30. The Sony FX30 is, I think it's currently about $2,100, $2,200, which is the same price as this Nikon ZR. And I'm not only going to be saying, I mean, most people are going to say, well, the difference is obviously full frame versus APS-C, but it's so much more than that. You're getting RAW, multiple flavors of RAW in the one camera, which is incredible. You're getting red color science, which I know a lot of people have been talking about how red is a lot more than just their color science. But let's not talk about, let's also keep in mind the fact that getting red color science is great. You get really good IBIS, which granted the FX30 has that as well. You get the full frame image, which is great. 6K, which I think is becoming the new standard, not as a deliverable, but as sort of ability to crop in and crop out. For $2,200, this is a wild offering of a camera. Granted, it has some flaws, right? So every time I was watching a video about this camera and every time I saw a flaw about it, you know, for example, micro HDMI being one of the big ones, no mounting points all around the camera body to sort of attach XLR handles or anything like that. The SD card port, right, being in the camera door isn't great, and the micro SD as a backup, that's fine. I don't tend to use backup recordings anyway, but I know a lot of people do. Those things aren't great, right? They are flaws. But again, when you go back to the price compared to like all of the other offerings, this is just a crazy good offering. So I think it's really important that as we sort of look at this camera, that for the money, there's just nothing else like it right now. I really thought when the ZR was going to come out that it was going to be comparable in price to the FX3, the new Canon C50 and stuff like that, but the fact that it's coming in at almost half the price is so cool. And again, this channel has been entirely focused on trying to get the highest quality image and trying to teach people how to get the most out of cheap cameras or cheap camera gear. And as much as this camera is not cheap, right, $2,000 is a lot of money. For what you're getting, it is a bargain. And almost a no-brainer for anybody looking for a camera within that price range. And I think it's really great that that Nikon are offering a camera at that price point for people who are in that sort of intermediate beginner phase, because I think that's a sweet spot for price. Next up, I want to talk about innovation, because we've been wanting something new for a while. I think the last camera that has really pushed the boat for pushing out for something new is the FX3 and FX30. That body style, probably the FX3 in particular, you got like 12,800 ISO, ridiculous low light, but also a really nice body design. That was kind of like a new thing because, you know, normal hybrid mirrorless cameras, the body design has stayed the same for forever, right? There's really not much going on there. And the FX3 was one that really pushed that boat. But what I will say is this new camera, the Nikon ZR, has been adding really cool innovations that I didn't expect. Okay, 32-bit float internal was something that I've been asking for a while from multiple camera brands. I think that would just be a cool way to push the boat for a lot of people. But that new screen, going for that larger screen, I know everybody's been talking about it, and I can obviously tell why, but I think it's just a really cool offering to change it up, do something new. I've got a few notes of things that I think are really cool. First off, yeah, 32-bit float. Second, that big screen. That's my favorite thing about the Blackmagic cameras, right? The Blackmagic screens being larger are great, but they don't flip out. They don't really do a whole lot. But this is everything that we want in a cinema camera. we'll get to that in a second. Everything that I kind of want in a cinema camera with a really good screen, and it's also like got a fanless design, so it's super small, super compact. Most people have said that they weren't able to get it to overheat, even without a fan. So being able to push all of that into a camera, again, coming back to the price, getting all of that for just $2,200 is so cool. I just think it's really, really cool that they're kind of pushing the boat and doing some new stuff, and in ways that people maybe weren't expecting. So I think that screen is just a really cool thing that they've done, and it's got people talking. And anything that can get people talking about your brand and your camera is a great move by any camera brand. And I think, as a lot of people have said, this is going to be the new norm from here on outwards, is getting these larger 4-inch screens. So I think that's really cool. Thirdly, let's just talk about the image. The camera looks fantastic. I'm really excited about the image. Granted, you can get a good image out of almost any camera these days. That's great. But it's just nice that it can produce such a nice image, again, at such a low price point. And I do actually really appreciate that you can still record with N-Log, right? You can use Nikon's color science, which I quite like. I think it's pretty good. You can use their color science and record in H.265. So I think for me personally, whenever I pick this up as my A cam for my YouTube videos, the fact that I can record in H.265 at 4K 24 is perfect for me. But if I'm doing a client shoot, if I'm going out and I'm filming, music videos or church stuff here, if I want to get the highest quality image and the best color science that I can get and a different kind of image, I can bump it up to that R3D. I know it's not like the full blown red raw that a lot of people are used to. And I know a lot of people said that they wished there was more red in there. But I think the fact that you still get something is really cool. A lot of people have been talking about, like, they wish that it was more red and less Nikon. What I would say is that everybody who's saying that are people who have come from the red side. As someone who's never really used a red, I've used a red Komodo once, but just as an operator, I've never edited with it. Coming from the Nikon side, having a sprinkling of red in there is really cool. And again, for that price point, I think it's fantastic. So as someone who is coming from a position of never having had a red, I'm excited about getting any red type of stuff in this camera at all. But I do understand people who are coming from the red side are saying, I want a little bit more. I want what I'm used to. So I guess that's just a matter of perspective. And I'm excited to get my hands on it and kind of see what I think about that. But one of the things I think is really important is the image that I was able to see just from looking at a lot of people's videos. The R3D RAW and the red color science does look different to the Nikon stuff, and it does look better. And I think that's really important, because if it was really close or almost indistinguishable, then what is it we're paying for? Which, again, we're not even paying all that much. But I appreciate that it is an upgrade, and it is there, right? I remember whenever Lumix has their Airy log stuff, I honestly struggled to see the difference. No, I'm sure there is a difference, but it's not drastic. It's not a massive difference, which is a testament to Lumix's image quality, which this is Lumix right now. It can produce a really nice image, but I think it is just nice to be able to look at your image and say, okay, I have a really good image here in H.265 in N-Log. Great image, really nice. But if I want extra good image, I can push my camera even farther into R3D RAW, which I think is just great. If they were like barely comparable, then there would be no point in even putting it into the camera, in my opinion. So I appreciate that it is an upgrade. I hope that kind of makes sense. Fourth, and I've talked about this before, I don't have to sell any of my Sony lenses. Up here on this shelf over here, I got a whole bunch of Sony lenses, and I don't have to sell any. I don't have to buy any Nikon lenses. I can keep using all of my Sony cameras with my Megadap adapter, and I can swap them out in and out of different cameras, and I can basically treat this Nikon ZR like a Sony camera, because I could just take all of my lenses and stick them on there, which I think is just fantastic. I mean, the cost that it would take to sell all of my Sony lenses and buy the equivalent Nikon lenses is completely unreasonable and unfathomable for me to be able to do right now. Even though the camera is affordable, I'm not in a position to just go out and buy 15 lenses. I bought these lenses that are up there because I like them, and I don't want to have to sell them and buy them again, because who knows, in 5 years' time, or maybe even next year, Sony might release a camera that is even better than all the other offerings. Well, then I can just hop straight back, because I could just sell the ZR and buy the Sony, and I keep using all of my lenses again. And I think that's just a really nice spot to be, that they work together so well. I don't even know if Nikon and Sony like that this is possible, but I have to say, as a consumer, I think it's great. So that's just one of those little points. I do this all the time with my Nikon ZF for photography. I just think it's really good. This is not actually on my list, but just because I've said it, I think it'll pair nicely with the ZF. I like this idea of having my Nikon ZF as photo and Nikon ZR for video. I think they would just pair together pretty well, and I think both of them would act relatively well as a B camera in the other camera's retrospective specialty, right? The ZR, even though it's not a photo camera, I think will work well as a B camera for photos with my ZF and vice versa. Not on my script, but there it is. Lastly, popularity. This might seem like a weird one to put in, but there is a lot of talk and a lot of excitement around the Nikon ZR for good reason. And again, I think it is majoritively around the price point. And as someone who is now primarily, almost exclusively doing YouTube and talking about gear and equipment and how to get the most out of that gear, it is beneficial for me to buy cameras that people are talking about, because the more people that buy the ZR, the larger my clientele is for my videos. So I hope that makes sense. I mean, if I buy some really obscure camera that nobody owns, I can make a video about that and maybe some people will watch it. But it's a smaller pool of people that are interested in that camera, right? If it's a camera that nobody really talks about. But on the flip side, the ZR seems to me like it is going to be the next big camera move within the video world for a huge amount of people. Again, because of that price point. Professionals are going to be looking at that $4,000 and up price range. Prosumers, $2,000 to $2,500 is that sweet spot. And there's a huge clientele of people who are looking at cameras in that market. And I think that is what really excites me. That's why, I bought the Sony a7 III. That was the last camera that I ever pre-ordered because it was so exciting. It was a new thing and loads and loads of people were buying it. And there were loads and loads of videos about it. This feels like the same for me. This new ZR feels like the same move. And for me, as someone who monetizes this whole platform, but also wants to benefit my viewers, the ZR feels like that perfect spot where it's at a really nice price. Again, it's $200 more than the a7 III was when it came out. What was that, like 8 years ago? Maybe? Could have been more. Like, really, really incredible price point. And I think a lot of people are going to be buying it, which means that my pool of people who are interested and wanting to watch my videos because of that camera is greater than it would be if I was buying an obscure camera that nobody really talks about or nobody really wants to use. Selfishly, that would be my last point, right? Popularity. As a YouTuber, someone who makes content about this kind of stuff, it makes sense for me to buy a camera that other people are buying. I know that sounds a bit odd, but that it's a reason for me. So do with that what you will. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I hope this has been interesting. I've been trying to do this as a one take. I think it's been a one take. I don't know. We'll find out whenever I edit it. If it's not, I'll put a big beep here, but I'm pretty sure it was a one take. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have and you like this kind of podcast style, I might try and do this monthly. Just a little podcast piece of new gear that's coming out. Talk to you guys. And if you have any questions about this kind of stuff, please join me on my live streams. If you don't see those live streams, it's because you're not subscribed. So hit the subscribe button and hit the bell, all that kind of stuff, and we can chat online. I try to get to every single chat that's in there, so I would love to hang out with you in there. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Nikon ZR. I think it's really cool. I'm really excited about it, but I want to hear what you think. I know it has some flaws, but I want to hear what you think about those flaws respectively to the price, because I think that's just the real kicker for me. I'm excited. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button, drop a comment, or maybe even subscribe as we continue to build this channel. I appreciate all of you for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. I botched that last line, but have a great day anyway.